So you are here today to see ArcGIS Maps for Office in introduction. That's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're looking for a different session, you may want to leave now. But we've got some content for you. We're going to tell you a little bit about what this ArcGIS Maps for Office thing is. My name is Scott Ball. I'm going to be helped out by DJ Barry.
Hello.
Yep. And so let's go ahead and get into this thing. Today we're going to be talking about what is Maps for Office. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what the thing is. It is an app that works with ArcGIS, and so we're going to start at the high level, give you a platform overview of what ArcGIS is, what apps for the office are, because Maps for Office is an app for the office, so we're going to tell you what that is. And then we're going to run through some of the Maps for Office features, what you can do with it, and give you some demos. At the end, we'll give you some additional resources and some ways that you can get involved and help us out with testing and help us out with figuring out exactly how the product should work, because we're always doing testing, and so this is a great way for you to get involved and help us out by testing some of our designs and get a sneak peek of some of the stuff that's coming down the road. So that being said, Maps for Office is included with ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise subscriptions. So if you have a named user, you can just download Maps for Office. It plugs into Excel and PowerPoint. And once you sign in with your named user credentials, you can start using the Excel features and the PowerPoint features that we add into those pieces of software. It's all centered around the ArcGIS cloud. So it's about using the services on ArcGIS to geocode addresses that might be in your spreadsheets, or share things up to ArcGIS so other people in your organization can use those things. And then you can also pull things down, pull map services and map layers down into PowerPoint so that you can present dynamic and interactive maps. So that's kind of the overview of what Maps for Office is and what we can do for your organization. So the first thing, I want to take a look at this. So I'm going to switch over to DJ, and he's going to show you how this thing works.
All right. So let's just say I've been working in my spreadsheet, just got the new sales figures in, and now I want to put it on a map. So I come up here to the Excel ribbon, click Add Map, and it starts to load the program, gets us started here. And then it immediately brings me to the Add Data from Worksheet window. And what it's going on right now is it's very quickly looking over my data and picking out what it thinks I'll want to show on the map. So it already recognized what table I was working in. It saw that I have a zip codes, but in this case, I really want addresses, and I can really quickly change that. And it saw that I had a column called Total Sales. Probably going to want to show that on the map. And it picked a renderer for me already, which is exactly what I wanted. I come down here, click Add Data, and now it's going through and geocoding my points, and very, very quickly adds them to the map. If I want to, I can adjust my styling some. In this case, I actually like the way it looks. It shows what I want it to, and I've gotten a pretty effective map right there.
Cool. So that was a very quick look at what you can do with Maps for Office. As you can see, it doesn't take much time or much skill to be able to get your spreadsheet data on a map very quickly. We try to bake in smarts so that you don't really have to think about what you need to do. If you have the information that we're looking for that can help you make a really nice map, we just make the map for you. Just tell it okay. So now that we've kind of seen what it is and what it can do, I want to give you some context about how it's doing it and kind of what you need in place to be able to do it. And starting to do that, I need to start with a platform overview. So much like man has evolved over time, so have GIS systems. And so in that same way, if you look on the left, you'll see kind of the old school GIS. Old school GIS was a desktop system working with files on that desktop. Over time, it progressed into a server-based architecture where a lot of people are today. But we actually have moved past that server-based architecture into WebGIS, and that's what ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise is. And that's really what you need to use ArcGIS Maps for Office, because that WebGIS system helps you tie information coming from your desktop, from your web, from devices, brings it all up into your ArcGIS system. You can also use it with server, and you can also use it with online content and services. So it really is kind of this thing that allows you to access all of your GIS resources wherever you are. One of the things that you can use with this web GIS platform are apps. And so I want to talk a little bit about how we think about apps and how they fit into the ArcGIS platform. So the main things that you want to think about are apps are key products from ArcGIS. These tend to be very focused on a specific workflow or a specific way of interacting with ArcGIS. In the case of Maps for Office, we try to make it very easy so that you don't really have to be a GIS expert to be able to make maps, publish maps, and share them with people in your organization. They help people solve problems. Most people, when you think of the word apps, you think of mobile apps. You think of things that you put on your phone. In Esri land, we think about apps a couple different ways. We think in addition to mobile apps, we also think about desktop apps. We have things like Explorer for ArcGIS. We have a number of different things we consider desktop apps. We also have web apps, things like Ops Dashboard or Story Maps. We have a number of different kinds of apps. So when we talk about apps, we think about all of these things. And why should you pay attention to apps? If you're a manager in your organization, how many managers do we have in the audience? Pretty good amount. The reason that you should care about apps is because they allow you to leverage the full potential of your GIS investment. You've spent a lot of money, most likely, on this GIS system, on this ArcGIS platform. And apps will help you make the most of that investment. It allows you to get more people in your organization involved with your GIS data. It allows you to deploy this WebGIS pattern to all different organizations within your organization and have everybody work with the same authoritative data that probably your GIS shop is authoring. For a GIS analyst, why should you care about this thing or apps in general? It really helps you share your work to other parts of the organization. Again, it gets back to that story of enabling other departments to leverage your geospatial assets that you're creating. It takes your sphere of influence outside of your GIS shop and it puts it across the entire organization. And it allows you to be that curator of authoritative data sets. So getting back into kind of what type of apps we have them based around four main themes. The first one, and the one that we're going to talk about today, are apps for the office. We also have apps for the field that help your people that are out in the field collect data or pass it back to the office or track the people that are out in the field. We also have community-based apps that allow people, such as constituents in neighborhoods, to access an online GIS system and submit things like complaints about potholes or noise complaints. Things like that. Crowd-based GIS are the other category of apps. We also have app builders that allow you and your department and people in your organization to go out there and build your own custom apps that leverage your ArcGIS platform. So what we're talking about today are apps for the office, and there are a number of them. Not just Maps for Office. We also have integrations into SharePoint. We have integrations into Power BI, and then we have all these other ones listed here, ArcGIS Earth, City Engine, all tools that will help you accomplish some kind of specific function within your organization. We have a ton of them, and the way to learn more is to go to esri.com/apps. And we have little highlights on each one of them. You can click on them and find out how it might help you kind of deploy this WebGIS pattern into your organization. That being said, today we're talking about Maps for Office. They really help you visualize, analyze, share, and present information coming from either your spreadsheets or taking information from your ArcGIS Online organization and bringing it into PowerPoint so that you can have these dynamic interactive maps that you can show to your stakeholders. So I like to include this one because traditionally GIS has lived in a few small places within the organization. It gets back to that theme I was talking about earlier, where with WebGIS and with Excel, because everybody's desktop throughout the organization has Excel, if you plug in ArcGIS Maps for Office into that, then you can get your GIS content outside of those two little boxes that traditional GIS hold, but across the entire organization. So you can have managers and executives and whoever viewing your maps and reports showing like real-time status updates of whatever is going on in your organization. This is one of my favorite slides because it kind of shows that relationship between a GIS professional in an organization and somebody else in your organization that wants to make a map. Your GIS professional is really thinking about complex things like crigging, or they might be thinking about coordinate systems, or they might be thinking about the best way to deploy GIS data to the organization. But then you have a scientist or an analyst or a salesperson that says, hey, I have this spreadsheet and I want to make a map with it. Can you help me? I don't know how to do that. I think it cracked me up. Not 30 minutes ago, I was down at the island and a guy came up and started telling me this story. And I said, I have a session in 30 minutes. If you just go upstairs, I have a slide that talks exactly to what you're talking about. Because he was like, it's such a pain in the butt because these people come and take up my time while I'm trying to do this, and they're just wanting these simple maps, and it becomes this iterative process where I'll make the map and then they want something changed, and I'll make the change, and that makes them see something else that they want changed. And it's just this big time suck of going back and forth, where if you plug in Maps for Office into their Excel spreadsheet and let them do the basics themselves, it really gives you some better return on investment by allowing your GIS professional to focus on GIS stuff. It allows your salesperson or scientist or analyst to focus on what they're trying to do. So that's one of the benefits of Maps for Office. So I've talked a lot about stuff that isn't Maps for Office itself, but now I want to get into talking about what can Maps for Office do, the actual features, the actual functions that it can do for your organization. It can help you quickly make better decisions and communicate them out. As you saw with DJ's demo earlier, what we have internally we call quick maps. And so what quick maps does is that first box on the left, and it looks at your spreadsheet. It tries to figure out what kind of data you're working with, what fields are there, what data types are there. And then, as DJ mentioned, we try to pick the best renderer for you so that you don't have to be a cartographic expert to get a really nice looking map. And so, as DJ showed, it picked the one that made the most sense for the data he was working with, picked that one by default, and then all you have to do is hit add data. If you want something different, you can do something different, and it gives you little thumbnail views of what those different types of maps you could select are. But you don't have to select something different. You can just go with a recommendation, say add data, go forward. In the middle, I've shown a very miniature view of what our styling options look like. Based on the renderer that you choose in that first step, you'll have different styling options on how you want your map to look. We don't necessarily expect that a lot of non-GIS people are going to spend a lot of time here, but if you really do want to tweak how your map looks, the color, the size of the circles, the outline width, the colors of the fill and the outline, all of that twiddly stuff, you can do that here as well. And I always include the density map or heat map visualization because most people that are non-GIS people, that's the first map that they look for. And so I want to make sure that you know that you can make these density maps if you want to. You can also put your data in context with the world. And what I mean by that is Maps for Office leverages geo-enrichment services. How many people are familiar with geo-enrichment services? Do you know what those are? Not a person. So that's a good time for me to step back and talk about geo-enrichment services. So GE services are things that allow, it's a service provided by Esri. We have tons of demographic information about places all over the world. And so we categorize that demographic and spending and consumer spending data into different categories. And that's kind of what I'm showing you right here. And so what we allow you to do within Maps for Office is take advantage of that demographic information in a number of different ways so that you can augment your spreadsheet data. So you're not just mapping your spreadsheet data, you can also bring in all this information that Esri has in our geo-enrichment services to add more information to your spreadsheets. So this is a pretty powerful thing. It's sometimes an overlooked thing that people that use Maps for Office, they just use it for that simple mapping stuff. This is a really powerful tool. Just so you know, it's called what? Data enrichment? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Enriched data is one of the ways to do it, and that's what you're looking at here on the screen. And so you can pick your data collection, such as key facts or wealth or policy, and that will drill you into more variables that will allow you to pick the exact variables that you may want to add into your spreadsheet. So it will actually, once you've mapped your points, each point is essentially a row in your spreadsheet, it can add information. So it can add another column to your spreadsheet with the demographic information for the area around that point. So it's a really powerful thing. You can get entirely new information and add it into your spreadsheet and then map based on that. It's pretty cool. I think we have a demo coming up to show you a little bit more about it. Yep. Another way to use that geo-enrichment service that we have in the back end is by using simple pop-ups. So in the pop-ups that you might normally be familiar with on ArcGIS, you click it, it'll show you all of your attribute information in the pop-up. Well, within Maps for Office, we also have another little tab that allows you to show tapestry segmentation or some other kind of infographic that we expose within Maps for Office. But this is really cool. Have you guys seen tapestry segmentation before? This is a really cool thing as well because it tells you what kind of people live near the area that you're looking at. So if you click on a point and then you switch over to the infographics tab, you'll get this tapestry segmentation information. And what we've done is we've grouped all of the people, definitely in the US, we might have global tapestry as well, I'm not sure, but definitely within the US, we've kind of classified people into 60, 65 different kinds of communities. And so what we'll do when we show you this tapestry segmentation is we'll show you the kind of community or the kind of people that live in the area that you're looking at. And so we'll show you the top 3 tapestry segmentations and the percentage of people that fall within that. So you just by clicking on the point, clicking on infographics, you'll see the kind of people that live in that area. It's pretty neat stuff. We also expose geo-enrichment services through standard reporting. And so you can create these reports if you want to compare apples to apples about 2 different sites. Let's say you have, you're trying to find a lease for a retail store or something, and you want to compare all the demographics around 2 different areas. You can create a report for site A, you can create a report for site B, and then just compare apples to apples to see what those communities look like and see what those areas look like using these reports. That's also accessible through the pop-up for each one of your little points. So, that being said, I know that just talking through it is a little bit confusing, so let's take a look at it and see how it actually works with a demo.
Yeah, this next demo is pretty cool because it was actually sent to us by a user. Basically, we're going to be able to see what you can actually use our geo-enrichment services for. And it's a very, very quick way to do some visual analysis and figure out where there may be some underperforming areas. So in this case, they were a company that specializes in home appliances. And this map here shows all of the retailers that sold those home appliances and the amount of sales they were generating at each retail location. And the company wanted to figure out, okay, which of these retailers could use a little help, maybe a little extra motivation? Are they underperforming? So what they did was, they created this map showing retailers' sales of their appliances, and at that point they needed some data on the local spending habits. So they came in here to enrich data, and they could come in here and look at all these different variables. In this case, they knew exactly what they wanted, which was major appliances. And you can see here you get a whole bunch of different variables under major appliances. We're going to keep it simple here, just 2017 major appliances average. And then I can come in here and say, okay, maybe I want a 2-mile circle around each location. It gives me an idea of, okay, how many credits it might cost. And because I'm using a table here, I'm going to geo-enrich my data, and it's going to add a new column in my spreadsheet with this data. So that's actually exactly what I want to do. I click Add Data to System, and right now it's reaching out to Esri services, sending them the location information and returning demographic info on the people around each retail location. And right now it's adding it to the spreadsheet, and there you go. You can see here, we've got a brand new column with demographic data in it. That's not quite enough though. I wanted to be able to get some actionable data here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer. Well, copy this layer as soon as it lets me. Here we go. And I'm going to choose that new demographic information. And I'm going to style it here very, very quickly using some of those styling tools we talked about earlier. I'll go with red, and I'm really not feeling an outline at the moment. There's no outline. Okay, and then I can send this to the back, and just like that you can pan and zoom and see, you know, anywhere where you see red is a place where consumer spending is arguably, you know, a little bit higher than what you'd expect our major appliance sales are. And it's very, very quick. It's not the most scientific approach, but it gives you some very quick actionable information. And then you can come through here and say, oh, you know, I'd really like to do a little more analysis too. So I can arrange my maps and use some of these filtering tools to say, okay, I just want to see this particular retailer. And it'll actually filter the map to just those retailers as well. So there you go. You can bring more data into your spreadsheet that gives you information on local demographics and spending habits. You can very quickly create a new layer and maybe even create a new map based on that data to get some actionable information and then perform some basic analysis with it.
Cool. Great work. Looks good, DJ. So moving forward, what else can it do? Maps for Office can also help you analyze your spreadsheet data. It can help you do that spatially. It's not going to be a replacement for your hardcore GIS spatial analysis tools, but it can help you do some simple stuff, such as find nearby. So if you have a store in the middle, you have customers all around it, and you want to say, show me all of the customers within a 15-minute drive time, you can absolutely do that, and that's what this is showing right here. You could then take those customers that you've made that selection of and either export that to a new spreadsheet or export it to a new workbook, whatever you want to do to further refine and work with that information. We can also do hot and cold spot analysis. So we're using the hot and cold spot service from ArcGIS Online, and we run your data coming from spreadsheets through that, and we'll return back your hot and cold spot analysis that you could then use for further analysis or share it back to ArcGIS Online or whatever you may want to do. So we've got another demo. We've got the location analysis demo. Ready for that one?
Just about.
Cool. All right.
So basic idea behind this one is, you know, Scott and I started a restaurant, and we're looking to start doing deliveries. I think. What kind of food do you want to deliver, Scott?
Let's do Chinese.
Chinese, okay. I could go for some Chinese food. And so what you're looking at here is a spreadsheet with a list of leads. And we're interested in picking out those within about 5 minutes because we're going to be doing deliveries.
I'm lazy.
More than 5 minutes. You're lazy.
Yep.
I'm unmotivated. It's a really great recipe. So to get an idea of what businesses are within about 5-minute drive time, first, because I'm going to be doing some analysis, I'm going to do that arrange map function again. Then I can come in here and see this blue dot. That's our actual restaurant location. And right here in the pop-up, you see this icon? That's the Find Nearby tool. You click on that, and it brings you to the Find Nearby pane, and you can choose, okay, whether you want to select features within, you know, a ring, or in this case, a drive time. You can specify what you want, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Like I said, we're lazy and unmotivated, 5 minutes. We're going to save the search area as a layer, and we're going to search inside this local businesses layer. Click Find, and right now, just like that, it's located 58 locations, possible companies we could sell to. Now, that's still not quite actionable enough for us. So because we're lazy, I'm going to go ahead and say filter the spreadsheet. And what that does is it hides all of the rows that aren't selected. So as you can see, now we've got this list of businesses we can use, and if we wanted to, we could select the Excel rows and paste them into a Word document or into another spreadsheet and give them to somebody else to go and talk to these companies. We could send them out in an email, a bunch of other things. But just like that, we were able to use the Find Nearby tool to locate features within a certain drive time and then filter our data based on that buffer.
Cool. Thanks, DJ. So this is pretty handy stuff, right? This is pretty neat spatial analysis stuff that you can give to people that aren't used to being able to use spatial analysis tools. Another thing that you can do with Maps for Office is collaborate with your peers. And so we have a number of different ways that you can share this cool stuff that you've been doing in Maps for Office with other people within your office. So we have these tools within Maps for Office. The first one is the Share Map tool. That will take all the layers that you're working with in your table of contents and bundle them up and share them to ArcGIS Online. If you just want to share one particular layer, like one particular analysis layer or something that is particularly important that you want to share with a specific person, you would just select that and then click on Share Layer, which is the next button over. Another thing that you can do is you can create slide. So if you click Create Slide, it's going to take a snapshot of what you're looking at on your map right now. It's going to open up PowerPoint, create a new slide, and drop that screenshot in. If you want to do your own screenshotting, you can just click on Copy Map, and that will copy the image of whatever you're looking at on your map right now and copy it to the clipboard, and you can put it wherever you want. For example, you could just paste it into an email and say, hey boss, this is where we're seeing hotspots right now for whatever area we're looking at. And so this final column that I'm showing over here, this is the sharing dialog pane. So you're going to have to, whenever you share to ArcGIS, you're going to have to give your map or your layer a title. You're going to have to give it some tags. And really importantly down there, I know it's a little small, but you decide who you want to share with as well. And so that's a very important thing, especially in our ArcGIS security model. You can share with just people in a specific group. You can share with all of the people in your organization, in your ArcGIS organization, or probably the most dangerous one there at the top is everyone. So if you want everybody in the world to be able to see your information, you can check the everyone. It can also be used very powerfully. In the past, we've worked with EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and they use this functionality to map some specific projects that they're working on. And then once they share that with everyone using that top checkbox, they actually embed that layer inside a little mini map on one of their web pages. Mm-hmm. So they can update their web page anytime just by updating their spreadsheet and clicking Update Shared Layer. It's a pretty cool workflow. It works really well for them. But it can also be something that you need to pay attention to, because if you don't want to share with everyone, you don't want to check that box. And I should also mention that we do integrate into PowerPoint. And so PowerPoint has the same model where you need to add interactive and dynamic maps. You'll need to sign in with your named user account. Once you sign in, you'll be able to browse all of the layers within your organization or all of the layers within ArcGIS that you have access to, and build a dynamic map slide that you can then present with. And when somebody has a question, as they always do, and the answer is just off to the side of the map that you're looking at within your presentation, you can actually say, hang on a second. You can go into live mode and actually pan over there and zoom into the area that you're interested in.
Bring up pop-ups too.
Bring up pop-ups, show more information. Mm-hmm. So to show you that, DJ has another demo to show us sharing and collaboration. You ready for that one?
I am ready.
All right, let's go.
All right, so you guys remember that analysis we did earlier? Yes, maybe, hopefully. So we've finished the analysis. We're ready to share it with people. So I can come over here to the share, and I'm going to say share map. Oh, did I click on it? Nope. There we go. Oh, you know what? Let's try this one more time. There we go. So I can, as Scott was saying, I can come in here and select who I want to share this with. I'm going to call this, UC 2017 Demo 1! Exclamation point. I'm going to call this one UC 2017 for my tags. And in this case, I'm just going to share it here to our little group. Everything looks good. I didn't share it with absolutely everybody, which is okay. Then I click share. And what this is doing is it's taking our layers and pushing it up to our ArcGIS Online organization, where we can then do a lot of other really cool stuff. Things like, as Scott was saying, bring it into a PowerPoint slide to have an interactive map in PowerPoint, perhaps creating an operations dashboard with it, which is really cool. Maybe creating a separate application for people to use, kind of like what the EPA has done. What we're going to be doing here is creating a story map with this. Let's see if the internet connection is going to be kind to us today. Should I just move on? Oh, wait a second.
Did it fail?
It looks like it failed.
Okay.
Womp, womp, womp. Luckily, I shared it already. All right. So once you share it up, you can come over here to your story maps. You can say, create a rich multimedia narrative. In this case, we want a story map journal. You click build. And I can decide, okay, I want to go have a side panel here. I want to call this DJ's Really Cool Story Map. Type enter. And now it's going to walk me through the steps to actually create a map. So in this case, I'm going to select one I already created earlier. So there we go. Location, we're going to do a custom configuration. You can do all this kinds of stuff. But in the end, you can create a story map that looks something like this. And I don't know about you guys, but I read Latin very, very well. And you can do it so it'll actually pan and zoom the map. You can put in pictures and charts. You can click on different items and have pop-ups appear. It's really cool. And this way you can tell a story with the analysis you did in Excel, and you can share it out to your entire organization. So this isn't, you can share your Excel workbook and have other people look at it this way, but you're much more empowered than just that, too. You can do a lot of other really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is the power of the platform. This is everything working together. This is, why you use apps and why you use ArcGIS and how you can really bring all of it together and get that return on the investment that you've made. You can create cool story maps you can share with the world and start in Excel. Pretty cool stuff. That's it for the demo? Yeah?
That's it for the demo.
Cool. All right. So those are the major features of Maps for Office. It is a pretty simple tool, but it's pretty powerful to kind of enable the people that aren't necessarily GIS natives. This is a lot of text. I'm not going to read through it all. This is also on our documentation site. It looks way more impressive in full if I just put all the text on there. So those are the things that are new with our last release. I think it was March-ish or April-ish. And so we've added a lot of kind of under the cover, under the hood stuff. Right now, we are working on kind of rebuilding the app from the ground up. And so we don't have any more releases in 2017. We're looking for probably an early to mid 2018 release. And so we're looking at things like the 4.0 version of the JavaScript API, because, oh yeah, by the way, this entire app is built on the JavaScript API. And so it's on the 3x version right now. We're moving up to the 4x version, and we're going to be adding a lot of cool stuff. So next release, 2018-ish, with a lot of cool new stuff. Oh yeah, do we have a what's new demo?
It is loading.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, so this is something we kind of threw in at the last minute. We thought, hey, we do have a lot of new stuff as of our last release, so let's take a look at some of those things. They're not necessarily like the functionality things that are like core to the app, but these are things that we've added that we want to show you. Mm-hmm. What are the cool new things that we made? So
yeah,
let's.
So you've actually seen a couple of them already. You know, the internet connection is still deciding that it doesn't like me, Scott. There we go. So you've already seen a couple of them. So the add data dialog was completely revamped. So it was a lot cleaner, a lot easier to use. You saw the styling side pane. It's actually kind of designed now. Before we kind of just put things in there. Then we brought in our designer and he had a heart attack. And once we revived him, he was able to add some new actual design to it, so it makes sense. Yeah, this is not loading currently. We've also added some really, really cool features. So in the past, functions wouldn't update the map. So if you had a column here and then it chained out to a variable or something somewhere else in your spreadsheet and you updated that variable, your table would update and the map would stay the same. We got annoyed with that too, and so we fixed it. So you come in here and your map should update as soon as it finishes loading. I probably should start paying attention to loading bars.
So that's actually a big ask. A lot of people were reporting the fact that they had indirect references within their spreadsheets, and those indirect references were not updating the map. And so we went in and we fixed that.
We've also improved performance considerably. So right now this map's actually is taking so long because I put 10,000 polygons on it. And so you can actually now right now you've got 10,000 zip codes and you can actually pan and zoom the map. Before it would start to stutter and jitter and be very unhappy. And you guys have kind of seen my machine's not too happy at the moment anyways, and I've got some internet connection problems, and I can still pan and zoom the map relatively easily.
Yeah. And so the map used to be underpinned by IE, and we replaced IE with Chromium. And so that's what a lot of our speed and performance improvements we just got naturally by switching over to Chromium. It's just a faster browser, handles tables and arrays better. And so the maps are faster.
Much, much faster. And wow, I have really angered this, so I'm going to turn it over to you before my computer starts smoking.
That sounds good. So those are a handful of the things that we have been adding and changing. One thing that I want to mention is that we do have our designers on site here in San Diego, and we do usability studies to make sure that this thing works for people. And so if you're interested in participating in usability studies, you can do so here in San Diego by going to this area circled in red. So at the bottom of this map is the main hallway out in the front. So it's in the kind of the back left corner. We have our usability group. If you go back there and tell them you attended this session, you want to help out with Maps for Office, they can either work you in on site here into some usability sessions, or they can take down your information and you can participate later. That will allow you to kind of see new designs that we're working on. We'll reach out to you, have you run through them, see how you react to them. And that's invaluable to us to make sure that the product that we're designing works for the people that we want it to work for. So please check out our usability area. If you want to talk to the team that builds this thing, we also are, we have a couple stations and a couple team members posted at the, the ArcGIS Apps area of the expo. And so that's circled in red. It's on the back right side of the expo area. Come talk to us. Come tell us what's working, what's not working. Or if you just want to play with it yourself, we have a couple workstations set up with Maps for Office on it. You can play with it yourself.
We've also got that spreadsheet with all the functions in it, so if you want to mess with that functionality, you can.
This is a good slide to just take a picture of. It's where you can learn more about Maps for Office. You can get the documentation. Our doc lead is amazing. She does a really great job. And so head out to the doc site. Most of your questions will probably be answered there. You can follow our blogs. That's where we post a lot of our new stuff whenever we have a new release. It has an RSS feed, so you can just subscribe to that and keep an eye on it. We also have an ideas site out there. And so if you have an idea that you want to see in the product, go to the ideas site, pick Maps for Office, and let us know what you want to see in the product. We pay attention to this. We prioritize our backlog based on the ideas coming from here. So please go there and let us know what we can do better. You can also take our survey on the Esri Events app. So if you think we did a great job, go there. If you think we did not do a great job, forget this slide ever existed. And so we've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and if you guys have questions about ArcGIS Maps for Office, we'll take those now. And if not, then we'll get out of here a little bit early. What do you guys think? I have a question over here.
What versions of Office are supported?
The question is what version of Office or what versions of Office are supported? We support starting at 2010, 2010, 2013, 2016. Yep. Blue shirt in the back. The question is, does this eat up your credits for ArcGIS Online? It does consume credits based on the service that you use. If you geocode points, those are going to consume credits because we're using the World Geocoding Service. If you do geo-enrichment is another thing that will consume credits. If you map polygons, such as if you're mapping to state boundaries or county boundaries or one of those standard geography types that we also allow you to map to, those don't cost any credits, only if you use the World Geocoding Service and return points. Question in the back in the blue. The question was, can you use your own geolocator services? And yes, you can. I think that's one of the what's new things.
The new thing is that it'll automatically use your organization's default geocoder. So in the past, we would automatically try to use the Esri's World Geocoder, but now once it connects to your org, it automatically tries to use whatever you've set as your default.
You don't have to have business sales online to access the tapestry data stuff.
The question was, you don't have to have business analysts to access the tapestry data, and no, you don't.
Nope.
Black shirt. The question is, can you use custom vector base maps? And I think that's one of the what's new items.
Yep.
It was in our March release.
We support vector base maps now.
That's a new thing. In the jacket.
Is Office 365
That's the question. Is Office 365 supported was the question. And no, it's not right now. To expand on that, we want to go there. It's something that we really want to do. The Microsoft APIs for Office 365 aren't as matured and robust as the APIs for the desktop version of Excel. And so there are some things that we need to do to be able to render the map quickly and performantly that we don't have access to right now.
Yeah. We are currently looking into it again, and I think Tom, one of our developers, is currently looking into the API because they've made improvements. So
at the beginning of every dev cycle, like after we put out a release and we start looking at things anew for the next cycle, we always go back and look and see where the progress is at. So at the time that we look and it's ready, we're going to go there. Yep.
Where do you go to download that?
So the question was, where do you go to download this? And that's a great question. If you go to esri.com/office, that'd be a great place to start. It'll give you kind of an overview of what things you can do, and then there'll be a big green box that says download now. Yep, right here in the front.
Is there a way to pin or embed the map extent only to the spreadsheets only? Print the spreadsheet, the map prints with the default.
So the question was, can you pin the map into the spreadsheet so that when you print the spreadsheet, the map prints too? Is that right? So yes and no. The map by default will be floating above your spreadsheet, and you can kind of drag it around, do whatever you want with it. There's also a way, there's a little arrow in the top left corner that you can pin it into the spreadsheet so that as you move the spreadsheet, the map will move too. Which is helpful if you're building like a little mini dashboard within your spreadsheet. The printing is iffy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's not great.
what might work best is to actually use the copy map function on the toolbar. And when you click on that, it actually takes, I think, like either a JPEG or PNG of your map, and then you can just paste it into your spreadsheet. And this way it'll print like it's embedded.
But it's no longer dynamic.
Correct.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah. Any other questions? Got one back here.
Let's use the Esri Maps for SharePoint, but now that we went to 10.5, a little far yet, can't use everything on the left.
Is that a SharePoint question or is that an Office question?
Well, until you had that for SharePoint.
Sure. So the question was, ArcGIS Maps for SharePoint does not work with 10.5. Are we going to? And yes, we are going to at our next release, which should be coming out later this month, by the way.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Gives you an option to adjust the geocoding results or tell you warnings if it doesn't geocode correctly.
So the question was, is there any metadata coming back with your geocoding results to allow you to know what failed or if it didn't do it quite as well? That's the heart of the question. Yeah. We don't. If it fails, we'll tell you it failed and how many items within that layer failed, but we don't give any more granular information about it passed with a 70% success rate or a 30% success rate. If we make the match, we just make the match and we put it on there. Question in the back left.
The user has XYs in their spreadsheet, and they specify the data that's using.
I missed the last part of that.
But do they specify what data, or do they use
Okay, so the question was, if you have XY coordinates in your spreadsheet data, one, can they be used? And two, can they specify the coordinate system? And yes and yes. I think that if it detects that latitude and longitude is in your data, then it will switch and use that because it's not going to cost you any credits. So we want to be mindful of that. So it'll switch to those, use them, and then yes, you can specify the coordinate system. It's a little bit buried because that's a little bit above the level of most people that are going to be using Maps for Office, but we did get a lot of people asking for that. So you can switch the coordinate system.
You can also
Or select the coordinate system.
You can also add XY coordinates to your spreadsheet. So in case you decide like, okay, I'm going to give this spreadsheet to someone else and they can, I don't know, do something else with it, or you can add XY data from Esri as well. So.
Right. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful, wonderful crowd. Thank you for coming to our session.